All right, good afternoon and happy Groundhog Day to everyone. In a short while, I will be joined by Brenda Barton, the World Food Program Country Director for the Philippines, and she will brief you virtually on the humanitarian situation in the Philippines in the aftermath of Typhoon Odette. The Secretary General leaves today for Beijing, where, as you know, he will be attending the opening ceremony of the Winter Olympics on Friday. While in Beijing, he will also meet with the president of the International Olympic Committee, Thomas Bach, and Chinese authorities. The Secretary General is expected to be back in New York on Sunday, the 6th of February. Yesterday afternoon, the Secretary General spoke to you at the stakeout to say that as he prepares to leave for the Winter Olympics, he's making the strongest possible appeal for all parties in Ethiopia for an immediate cessation of hostilities. And this can allow for effective humanitarian access and relief to all affected populations throughout Ethiopia, he added. He called on all parties to follow the finest tradition of the Olympic spirit to save lives, overcome differences, and find the path to real peace. The Secretary General was also asked about the coup attempt that took place yesterday in Guinea-Bissau, and he said that it is clear that coups are totally unacceptable. He warned that we are seeing a terrible multiplication of coups, and he called for soldiers to go back to their barracks. The head of our peacekeeping mission in the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Bintou Keita, strongly condemned an attack yesterday evening by Codeco militias against a site for internally displaced people in Savo in the Ituri province. Our colleagues say that at least 50 people, including women and children, were killed in this attack, and another 36 were injured. The UN mission dispatched a patrol to the site upon receiving an alert about the attack. They also notified national security forces, as well as its community alert network. UN peacekeepers exchanged fire with the assailants shortly after arriving on the scene and conducted joint operations with the Congolese army into the early morning, pushing the assailants out of the area and securing the IDP site to prevent further attacks. Humanitarian partners are providing medical supplies. This area is home to 600,000 displaced people. Our humanitarian colleagues are telling us that access by road is restricted due to insecurity, and the delivery of humanitarian assistance is challenged. The head of the UN Office for West Africa and the Sahel, Mahamet Saleh Annadif, is traveling today to Accra in Ghana, where he will take part in the second extraordinary summit of heads of state and government on the political situation in Burkina Faso. This summit is scheduled to take place tomorrow and is organized by the Economic Community of West African States, or ECOWAS. This summit follows the joint ECOWAS-UN mission in Burkina Faso. In a summary of the visit published by his office, Mr. Annadif reiterated that the joint delegation called for a rapid return to constitutional order in the country. He also underlined that he told military authorities that nothing can justify a coup d'etat. He urged them to cooperate with ECOWAS and the international community to find effective solutions to the current crisis. We are aware of a recent media interview given by the Secretary General's Special Envoy on Myanmar, Noeline Heyzer, and regret misrepresentation indicating that she used the term power sharing in the context of the current crisis in Myanmar. The Special Envoy has consistently advocated for a Myanmar-led process that is inclusive and reflective of the will and needs of the people. From the outset of her tenure, the Special Envoy has stressed that we must stand firm with the people of Myanmar and act in support of their aspirations for an inclusive society and protection for all communities, including the Rohingya. On the role of the military, the Special Envoy has made clear that narrowing the trust deficit requires, first, the immediate cessation of military attacks, including aerial operations. To create any space for talks about peace, national unity, and democracy, the Special Envoy has underscored that there has to be progress through efforts that are credible in the eyes of the people. Turning to Syria, 2 baby girls, one a week old and the other 2 months old, passed away yesterday, reportedly due to exposure to the cold. Both children lived in displacement camps in the Idlib countryside. In the northwest, out of the 2.8 million displaced people, 1.7 million people live in camps or informal settings, the majority with inadequate shelter. Since the 18th of January, 10,000 tents have been damaged or destroyed across Idlib and northern Aleppo, and over 250,000 people have been affected by the winter weather. The temperatures are frequently below zero. Humanitarian partners are targeting 10,000 households with shelter, cash assistance, and other aid. Humanitarian partners will provide one-off, ready-to-eat food rations and emergency food baskets to over 90,000 people. The significant funding gap in winter response is a major challenge. For the Northwest, there's a $39 million gap in a planned winter response of about $84 million. Today, in a tweet, the United Nations Assistance Mission in Afghanistan said that the Taliban released 2 Ariana news reporters that they had detained. UNAMA noted that the whereabouts of women activists and others who went missing 2 weeks ago remain unknown. The UN mission stressed that urgent action by the Taliban is needed to stop abductions and secure freedom for the disappeared. Today is World Wetlands Day, and the theme this year is Wetlands Action for People and Nature. It highlights the importance of actions to ensure the conservation and sustainable use of wetlands for human and planetary health. The UN Environment Programme warns that wetlands are disappearing 3 times faster than forests and are the Earth's most threatened ecosystem. In just over 50 years, since 1970, 35% of the world's wetlands have been lost. You will have seen a senior personnel announcement that was made yesterday. For those who missed it, I would like to read into the record that the Secretary General has appointed Major General Benjamin Olufemi Sawyer of Nigeria as Force Commander for the UN Interim Security Force for Abyei, known as UNISFA. Major General Sawyer succeeds Major General Kefyalu Amdedesama of Ethiopia, to whom the Secretary General is grateful for his dedication, invaluable service, and effective leadership during his appointment with UNISFA. Major General Sawyer has more than 34 years of service with the Nigerian Army, including as the Director of Defense Information of Nigeria's Defense Forces since 2021. Lots more on this appointment online. And today we say thank you and merci to 2 member states which have paid their dues in full for this year. They are France and Tuvalu. Thank you both for taking the honor roll to 43 members. And tomorrow at 11 a.m. there will be a hybrid press briefing by the European Commissioner for the Environment, Oceans and Fisheries, Virginijus Sinkevicius. He will be here in this room to brief on the UN's ocean and biodiversity agendas from the EU perspective. And do you have any questions before we go to our guests? Yes, James and then Edie.
The attack in eastern... Sorry. I'm going to shout because I'm pressing it. It's not staying on.
Yes, got it.
Anyway, the attack in eastern DRC, can you tell us what the UN is doing now? Is the UN helping Congolese authorities with the investigation? Is the UN putting more patrols in place in that area?
Well, there is a patrol set up there, and the initial idea was to get the assailants outside of the area and to protect the internally displaced person site. At this stage, after that, they can determine further exactly what happened. But right now, their actions have been to secure the site. And by the way, we do expect possibly later this afternoon a statement with something more to say on this.
But are you sending additional UN forces to the area?
I'm not aware whether reinforcements are going right now. It seems as if they have been able to secure the site with the actions that they took overnight and earlier today. Edie?
Thank you, Farhan. A follow-up on Guinea-Bissau. What's the latest UN understanding of the situation? And there have been some reports that this might have been the work of drug runners, criminals.
Well, on that, the Secretary General is continuing to closely follow the developments in Guinea-Bissau. He encourages all stakeholders, particularly defense and security forces, to exercise restraint and take all necessary measures to prevent any actions that could undermine peace and stability in Guinea-Bissau. The Secretary General reiterates the need for all actors to respect the country's democratic institutions. He calls on the authorities to ensure that investigations into the attempted coup are carried out in full compliance with human rights standards.
And no word on who might have been responsible?
At this stage, that does need to be investigated. But like I said, we want to make sure that the investigations are in full compliance with human rights standards. But we do expect them to proceed.
And a follow-up on the Secretary General's call for all combatants to observe the Olympic truce. Has the Secretary General received information from any warring party anywhere that they plan to abide by the Olympic truce?
We have not received any general announcements from different parties. As you know, yesterday's call was made specifically on Ethiopia, and although we have not received a response from the parties there, we are continuing to press with that. The Secretary General did make some follow-up calls with officials involved in the peace process in Ethiopia to see what can be done to take this further. Yes, Ray.
Thank you, Farhan. On February 8th, the Libyan parliament is supposed to pick a new interim prime minister, and the actual interim prime minister, Dbeibah, is rejecting this step. What's the position of the UN regarding this issue?
The special advisor to the Secretary General, Stephanie Williams, is in touch with the various parties to make sure that what can be achieved is an agreed solution for this. Obviously, we need to have a system in place that is respected by all the Libyan people, and we are working to that end. And we urge the Libyan parties to work for the unity of the country so that we can get to the elections and to a way of finding a solution that can actually protect the interests of all of the Libyan people. Stephanie Fillon, you have a question?
Yes, actually, I have a question and a follow-up. It's about the Secretary General's trip to Beijing. So first of all, I wanted to know, the Secretary General said the trip was without any political dimensions, but during his stay in China, doesn't he plan to bring up human rights issues at all?
Well, regarding the visit, the Secretary General considers the Olympic Games as an important expression of unity, mutual respect, and cooperation between different cultures, religions, and ethnicities. The Olympic ideal is something that we must cherish and is very much in line with the values of the United Nations, and that is the purpose of his trip. Regarding the question of human rights, the Secretary General has always expressed, both publicly and privately, the need for all human rights to be fully respected and for the authorities to act in a way that each community feels that their identity is respected and that they belong to the country as a whole. You had
also a follow-up.
Yeah, okay.
When he was asked about his trip, he said that it was a tradition for Secretary Generals to go to the Olympic Games. So can you clarify why he didn't go to Tokyo?
He has gone. He's gone to all of the Olympic Games that was possible to go to. Basically, since 2002, with one exception, where the Secretary General's mother had passed away. Aside from that one time, the Secretaries General of the UN, the past three, have attended all of the Olympics events. Yes.
Thank you.
Sorry, Farhan, just a follow-up on that, because you didn't quite answer it. You said what the Secretary General had said in the past on human rights. He will have meetings with Chinese officials. He may even see President Xi. Will he, in those meetings, bring up, given it's one of the pillars of the UN, human rights, will he bring up one of the most contentious issues regarding China, which is China's human rights record? I don't want to know whether he's brought it up in the past. I want to know whether he's going to use this opportunity of one-on-one talks with top-level officials to raise it again.
Well, as I just pointed out to Stephanie, throughout all of his contacts, including both his public statements and his private contacts, he has expressed the need for all human rights to be fully respected.
That's the past.
And he would do so.
He will do so. He will do so in these meetings as well.
This is something he does consistently.
So we will expect the Secretary General to bring up human rights in his high-level meetings. That's for.
As I've said, this is something he's done consistently. I don't want to predict meetings that haven't happened yet. And Abdul Hamid, do you have a question?
In fact, I have two. One, as a follow-up to what you just said about the human rights and the principal position of the Secretary General of Human Rights. Does this position apply squarely and unequivocally to the people of Kashmir who are suffering under the Indian occupation?
Yes, it applies across the board.
Okay, my second question. About 2 weeks ago, or maybe a little bit more, the special envoy to Sudan, Mr. Volker Perthes, issued an initiative calling for all Sudanese parties to come to the UN for inter-Sudanese dialogue. What happened to that initiative? We haven't heard from him for some time now. Can you update us?
Yes, Volker Perthes is continuing with that work, and he's been talking with the authorities in Sudan, as well as with the political groups, trying to work with them to see what kind of format could be acceptable to everyone. So that work continues. Betul. Betul Yuruk? Okay, James Reinl?
Hi, thanks, Farhan. Hopefully Betul is going to get her connection working. It's another question for you guys on what's going to be happening in Beijing. Obviously, the Russian leader, Vladimir Putin, is going to be there. Is your team, the Secretary General's team, working on getting a meeting with the Russian leader to discuss the military buildup on the border with Ukraine?
Well, like I said, the focus of the trip again is the Olympics, but he does expect to meet with some of the other leaders while he's there. I don't have any meetings to confirm just yet on this, but as the visit proceeds, we will try to provide some details of the meetings he can manage to get on the margins of this event.
Have you requested a meeting? Because obviously it's quite an important issue for international peace and security. It certainly falls within his mandate.
Well, from our standpoint, we're trying to see what meetings can be arranged. There are a number of leaders there. We do expect that some of the arrangements will pan out, but we'll disclose the meetings once they're confirmed and once we can shed some light on them. Our colleague Florencia is traveling with the Secretary General, and she'll provide some updates as we can get them. Betul, are you there? If not,
Hi, Farhan, yes,
oh, good.
Muted before. Can you hear me?
Yeah, got you.
James already asked my question, but I'll have a follow-up on that. Foreign Policy reported yesterday that the U.S. administration reached out to the Secretary General and asked them to skip the Beijing Olympics. Would you be able to confirm that?
I don't speak for the U.S., so I wouldn't comment on what they've done. I've already told you what our position is, both on the Olympics and on the question of China. And I guess with that, we will now turn to our guest, Brenda Barton, who is the country director for the Philippines, who is here to brief you on the situation in the Philippines and the aftermath of Typhoon Odette.